We've had a bunch of schools come through here with, different age school children. And I will tell you how I feel about that or what actually happens here. So you'll have a very small percentage, maybe 5% at the most, that are incredibly interested. The rest of them are just happy that they got out of their classroom. How do you reach these children that are infested by technology and materialism and all these things? How do you get to those children? I think 60% of that energy comes from the parents. If the parents live in a sterile environment, they rarely go out on the weekends with the kids into nature, they don't grow anything, they push the kids to be doctors or engineers or something like that, those kids have very little chance of ever experiencing what it means to experience a circle of life, meaning you plant a seed, let's say it's broccoli, the seed produces a fruit, the kid eats the fruit, you leave a certain portion of those broccoli so they can go to seed. The kid realizes that the seeds can produce life. So the kid now all of a sudden has experienced the entire circle of life. For a kid to touch and get their fingernails dirty is a very, very peculiar scenario, and I'll describe it. When we have these children here, there's kids that go right in there and they want to get their hands dirty. And there's other kids that just have no interest in getting their hands dirty. And that's very peculiar, because getting your hands dirty was a very common trait with human beings. It's not so much anymore. So I think what is going to happen is that all our food is going to be produced by these big agriculture, facilities that have everything's computer controlled, chemically controlled, lots of AI, lots of robotics, because this next generation of children don't want to deal with manure. They don't want to deal with compost. They don't want to deal with cultivating topsoil or whatever it may be. They don't want to do it. And if we can get that message out to the experienced gardeners, that let's say they're 40 years, 50 years, 60, 70 years old. If those experienced gardeners can get out there and grab a couple of youngsters and say, look, why don't you work with me on Saturday? I'll pay you whatever, right? So these youngsters will come out, they'll get in the garden, they get a little cash reward at the end of the day. That experience might change that child forever. They might realize that there's something else to the world, that there's these secret gardens that have all these animals living there. They have sort of entrapped this circle of life. If kids understand that, how important that is, we might have a brighter future.
When we have these children at our location, we try to teach them all kinds of really good things. Visual aids make a real big difference, and they really help us keeping them interested, and it keeps them excited. We have different soils on display. We get them to plant seeds. We get them to listen to lectures. Hands-on is very critical in this whole process. If we can get them to get their hands dirty, it's even better. They will listen. You just have to make it very interesting for them. Teaching the next generation is a big task about gardening. It is very important. And if we don't do this, there will be no future for gardening, small-scale gardening. In 2050, there will be no one left to grow our food. You have to almost make these lectures a little bit of a magic show. You have to keep these children engaged, and it works. You just have to work at it and involve them with visuals and great content.
So I think there's very few gardeners or people that have experienced the garden that the best way to get our children healthy and to keep them healthy, the best way to keep them involved in nature is gardening. There is no way around that. Right now I'm in a garden, I can smell the dirt. That's got to have a huge effect on me. This idea that children are indoors too much. The children are not involved with what really matters is a big push. I think in 2050 there's going to be a problem where the experienced gardeners have all died off. There's going to be very few of them left. They might have passed their knowledge on YouTube or wherever, but experiencing a garden with a gardener, they will tell you so many things that you will never find on YouTube. You will get hands-on experience. Let's say you're a child, you live on a homestead, your parents are gardening all the time, they're raising animals. You will have a very different perspective than somebody living in a sterile city apartment. So parents have to be very cautious of excluding their children from nature, from getting dirty, getting stuff growing, understanding what it means to be in the garden and to grow your own food. That's a very, very, very beneficial experience. There are schools that are doing this, like the Waldorf School has a great program for teaching children how to grow food, and then they add this community element to it, where you're growing food for other people, you're sharing, all those things. It's a great, great concept. And so if we don't pay attention in 2050, I'm quite worried that it's going to be big sterile factories that are making our food, and there won't be any small gardeners making this high quality produce.